Y'all see what they got us going through? It's been 16, 17 hours since we ate our first meal. Trays, rats, roaches. They don't even come clean as on. They just how we got. We fucked up, man. We need y'all help, man.
Trays all sour.
Hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome back to LA Show. Thank you guys so much for tuning back in with me. Today, of course, we're going to talk about something very graphic. I do apologize, but this story, of course, is not getting a lot of attention. And I know you guys are probably like, so what? They're inmates. They're in jail or prison, you know. But at the end of the day, this is people, and this is what young men need to see so that they don't end up in this situation as well. So it's a learning curve on both ends. But I wanted to look at what's going on down in Mississippi, and I'm going to get an article here to read to you all. So listen up. I would love for you guys to come over to my podcast as well. It's out on Anchor FM, which is a free app that you can download, start your own podcast. Also Spotify, Breaker, Google Podcast, and more. Check it out. So I got an article here from foxnews.com. Mississippi prison escapee back in custody, second still at large, officials say. This is on January 5th of 2020. One of two prisoners believed to have escaped Saturday from the Mississippi State Penitentiary at Parchman is back in custody, investigators said early Sunday. The Mississippi Department of Corrections tweeted just before 3:30 a.m. that David May was in custody. Further details weren't immediately released. The Corrections Department said that May, 42, and Dylan Williams, 27, were discovered missing from Parchman during an emergency count about 1:45 a.m. Saturday. May was still serving a life sentence for 2 aggravated assaults convictions in Harrison County, and Williams was serving a 40-year sentence for residential burglary and aggravated assault in Marshall County. Governor Phil Bryant tweeted Saturday that he directed the use of all necessary assets and personnel to find the 2 inmates who escaped. Parchman is a series of cell blocks scattered across thousands of acres of farmland in Mississippi's Delta region. Inmates who escaped their cells sometimes wouldn't make it off their property. Parchman was one of several prisons rocked by violence in the past week. 5 inmates have died in prison violence since December 29th. 3 of those deaths took place at Parchman. Corrections Commissioner Felicia Hall, Mississippi's outgoing prisons chief, said Friday that 4 of the 5 killings of inmates since Sunday stem from gang violence as guards struggled to maintain control of restive inmates. Relatives of inmates who spoke to the Associated Press and other news outlets said there's an ongoing confrontation between the vice lords and the black gangster disciples. The 2 gangs have warred behind bars in Mississippi. Previous confrontations at Parchman and other prisons have taken place over 15 years. A 2015 survey found nearly 3,000 black gangster disciple members and nearly 2,000 vice lords in prison statewide. Mississippi's prison system has struggled to fill guard vacancies, with Hall saying it's difficult to attract people with salaries starting below $25,000 a year. Some guards ended up bringing illegal drugs and cell phones into prisons. Criminal charges were filed in 2014 against 26 correctional officers. Some prisons, including South Mississippi, had areas where many prisoners were housed in bunks in one large room instead of individual cells, which could lead to worsened security problems. South Mississippi and Greene County was locked down for almost all of 2019, in part because of guard shortages.
Look at this. This is what we live in Parchman, Mississippi State Penitentiary, MSP 29, Camp 29.
Once again, I do apologize about these graphic and disturbing images, but I do just want to report on this story because, like I said, I want to shine light to up and coming young men who are trying to abstain some type of dignity and not have to go through this. Inmates killed during Mississippi's prison violence. Who are they? This was posted on January 3rd, ClarionLedger.com. Inmates are dying while Mississippi prisons are on lockdown. Within less than a week, 5 inmates have been killed at South Mississippi Correctional Institution, Mississippi State Penitentiary in Parchman, and the Chickasaw County Regional Correctional Facility. Inmates, a local coroner, and people who have relatives in prison have told the Clarion Ledger the violence is the result of gang fights. Gangs are at war. Terrence Dobbins, age 40, killed at SMCI. Terrence Dobbins, age 40, died at SMCI in Leakesville on December 29th. MDOC locked down all prisons, citing the major disturbance that led to Dobbins' death. He was serving a life sentence for homicide in Adams County and 8 years for aggravated assault in Sunflower County. His sister, Candace Dobbins, told the Clarion Ledger he felt unsafe at SMCI and she tried to get him transferred before his death. Terrence Dobbins was dreaming of getting out of prison and opening a barbershop and salon, she said. He also wanted to mentor young people so they could avoid making the same mistakes he did. When she visited him in prison with her kids and nephews, he told them, "You don't want to get in no trouble and be locked down." He gave advice to inmates who were about to be released, she said, telling them to get out of this place and don't ever come back. His sister said MDOC has not been answering her questions about Terrence Dobbins' death, despite multiple attempts to contact officials. Walter Gates, age 25, killed at Parchman. Walter Gates, age 25, was killed at Parchman within the first hour of the new year. Sunflower County Coroner Heather Burton said in a news release that she received a call at 12:42 a.m. from MDOC security at Parchman about the death of an inmate in Unit 29E. She arrived at Parchman to a unit that was still unsecure from a gang-related riot. Officers assessed the inmates and removed them from the vicinity of the victim, the release said. Gates had died of multiple stab wounds and was pronounced dead at 12:22 a.m., Burton said. Gates had been sentenced to 10 years in prison from Coahuila County in 2015. In a statement, MDOC said There had been a major disturbance late New Year's Eve. Several others were injured. Gregory Emery killed at Chickasaw County Regional Correctional Facility. Gregory Emery, age 26, was killed at Chickasaw County Regional Correctional Facility on the morning of January 2nd. He was serving a 16-year sentence for burglary of an unoccupied dwelling in Tate County. His ex-girlfriend or wife, Kara Cox, said Emery was an electrician and father of 2 boys. He was a very kind soul and had an amazing sense of humor, Cox said. He could get along with anybody. Many people really loved him. Cox said when Emery saw people pulled over on the side of the road, he stopped to check if they needed help. He would do anything for anybody. Cox said when prisons statewide went on lockdown, she thought Emery would be kept safe. He should have been protected, Cox said. They failed to do that. Cox said Emery was not in a gang. They riot and there's nothing else you can do. You can't run up and hide. There's nowhere to go, she said. Emery was planning to get out of prison and return home this later year, Cox said. His former employer was going to give him his job back, she said, and he was looking forward to spending time with his children aged 5 and 6. After leaving prison, Emery also wanted to help people who had been in prison or in drug court. She said he wanted to make a difference and show that you can turn your life around, Cox said. Cox said she would call Emery in prison multiple times a day. He told his sons that he loved them every time he talked to them. These are people's sons, fathers, brothers, she said. It's really sad. Something needs to change in the system so that other families don't have their loved ones killed or end up as victims of collateral damage of what's going on. Roosevelt Holloman killed at Parchman. An inmate death related to a gang fight at Parchman was confirmed on January 2nd by Burton. The inmate was identified as Burton as 32-year-old Roosevelt Holloman, who was serving 12 years for armed robbery, burglary, and selling cocaine. Earlier that day, Parchman's warden sent out a call for help, according to Sunflower County Sheriff James Haygood. Multiple law enforcement agencies, including MDOC, Mississippi Highway Patrol, and surrounding county sheriff's offices, responded. MDOC confirmed a small fire had broken out in Unit 30 at the prison. Responding to a Clarion Ledger request for comment, MDOC spokeswoman Grace Fisher said there were no injuries and no structural damage. Fisher did not mention the death that had been confirmed earlier in the day by the coroner. Burton said she had received a call at 11:47 a.m. about a death of an inmate in Unit 42, the hospital. The inmate had been stabbed multiple times during a gang-related riot in Unit 29D. Dolores Howell, age 36, killed at Parchman. Dolores Howell, 36, was killed early morning on January 3rd at Parchman, Burton said. Burton said she received a call at around 3:20 a.m. about the death of an inmate in Unit 29I. Her investigation showed that Howell was involved with an altercation with his cellmate. Howell sustained neck injuries and his cellmate sustained stab wounds. Howell was serving a 17-year sentence for manslaughter out of Marshall County. A MDOC statement released Friday afternoon claimed Howell's death was unrelated to the major disturbances at prisons. There is an update for this article. Sunflower County Coroner Heather Burton said Dolores Howell, who died Friday, was not stabbed as she initially reported. He sustained a neck injury. His body is at the State Crime Lab in Pearl undergoing autopsy. So I do apologize about messing up some words in that article, but it does make me kind of weary because, I know people who have been locked down for years. If some of you guys have, let it be known. Just reflect back on the time that you were in jail or prison, and just imagine that stress on top of this type of stress, and just the way that it's affecting the black and brown community. They're saying that vice lords are going against black gangster disciples, and it's just a big mess. So what do you think is going on politically as well in that area? Politically, I don't think nothing is popping off in Mississippi. Of course, it's not going to benefit anybody of the black or brown community, clearly. And apparently, there is a high crime rate along with a lack of guards and personnel that is needed to sustain such a large prison. And did you hear how much they're paying the COs in the last article? 25,000 for risking my life to come up in here every day. Man. And then that tells me that there's no rehabilitation programs facilitating in this type of prison, because think about it, if they're not paying the COs, then they're daggone sure not going to pay for some type of program to be in place. And that's why these men are going crazy, doing crazy things. And it shows the lack of mental health services that are needed and all of that. So please comment, like, and share this video, and let me know what you think down below. I'll be back.